The space station called Orbital Ring 7 floated in the darkness between two dying stars. It was old, ugly, and smelled like burnt metal and alien sweat. Thousands of creatures from hundreds of worlds lived there, traded there, and sometimes died there. The station did not care. It just kept spinning, day after day, year after year. Ho had lived on the station for 3 years. He was a human, one of the soft-skinned creatures from a planet called Earth. The aliens on the station did not think much of humans. They were small, weak-looking, and had no claws, no scales, no natural weapons. Their teeth were flat. Their skin tore easily. They needed to breathe a very specific mixture of gases or they would die. Fragile things, the aliens thought. Useful for simple work, but nothing special. Ho worked as a cargo hauler. Every day he woke up in his small room, ate a simple meal, and went to the docking bays. There he moved heavy crates from one place to another. The work was hard and boring, but Ho never complained. He just did his job, collected his pay, and went home. He did not talk much. He did not make trouble. Most aliens forgot he existed the moment he walked past them. He was 29 years old with black hair that he kept short and dark eyes that always seemed tired. His body was neither big nor small. His face was neither handsome nor ugly. Everything about him was average, forgettable, ordinary. That was how he liked it. But Ho had a secret. Not a dark secret, not a dangerous one. Just a simple truth that made his ordinary life feel extraordinary. Her name was also human, 26 years old, with long black hair that she tied back when she worked. She had a round face, bright eyes, and a smile that could make even the grumpiest alien feel a little better. She worked in the station's medical bay, helping injured workers and sick travelers. The official doctors were expensive, so many creatures came to instead. She never turned anyone away, even if they could not pay. Ho had met her 2 years ago when he had cut his hand on a broken crate. She had cleaned the wound, wrapped it carefully, and told him to be more careful. He had fallen in love with her before she finished tying the bandage. They had been together ever since. Their life was simple. They shared a small room in the lower levels of the station, where the rent was cheap and the neighbors minded their own business. Every morning, Ho made breakfast while got ready for work. Every evening, they ate dinner together and talked about their day. Sometimes they watched old Earth movies on a cracked screen Ho had fixed. Sometimes they just sat together in comfortable silence. It was not an exciting life. It was not a rich life, but it was theirs, and Ho treasured every moment of it. The aliens on the station did not understand humans. They saw Ho's soft body and assumed he was weak. They saw his calm face and assumed he was passive. They saw him bow his head and step aside when larger creatures passed, and they assumed he was afraid. They were wrong. Humans came from Earth, a planet that the Galactic database classified as a Class 12 death world. The gravity was strong, the weather was violent, and the animals were killers. Humans had survived there for hundreds of thousands of years, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they were the most stubborn creatures in the universe. They could walk for days without stopping. They could survive injuries that would kill most species. They could adapt to almost any environment, eat almost any food, and keep going when everything else gave up. But more than that, humans had something that most aliens did not understand. They had a switch inside their minds, a line that should never be crossed. Most of the time, humans were peaceful. They laughed, they loved, they built things and helped each other. They had rules about kindness and fairness. They believed in talking before fighting. But when that line was crossed, when something they loved was threatened, the peaceful human disappeared. Something older took its place. Something that had hunted mammoths in the snow, that had fought lions with wooden spears, that had clawed its way to the top of a death world through pure, savage will. The aliens did not know about this. They had never seen it. Humans had been in space for only a few decades, and they had always been polite, always been cooperative. The galaxy thought they understood humans. They understood nothing. Ho finished his shift on a day like any other. His back ached, his hands were sore, and he was looking forward to going home. Had promised to cook his favorite meal tonight, a simple dish from Earth that reminded him of his mother. He smiled as he walked through the crowded corridors, thinking about her face, her voice, the way she laughed at his bad jokes. He did not know that 3 soldiers were waiting in the corridor, near the medical bay. He did not know that a mercenary commander named had chosen as a target. He did not know that in less than an hour, his ordinary life would end forever. All he knew was that he loved her, and that he would do anything to keep her safe. Anything. The station kept spinning, the stars kept burning, and somewhere in the darkness, something ancient began to wake. Commander was not a good creature. He had stopped being good a long time ago, if he ever was. He was one of the reptile people from the hot swamps of Prime. His species was big, strong, and covered in thick green scales that could stop a knife. They had 4 arms, yellow eyes, and teeth like broken glass. The galaxy feared them and liked it that way. He sat in his private room on the station, drinking something strong and bitter, looking at a picture on his screen. The picture showed a human female with long black hair and a gentle face. Her name was, and she was worth a lot of money. A client had contacted 3 days ago. The client was rich and powerful, someone who worked for a government that wanted to study humans. They wanted a live specimen, preferably female, preferably healthy. They would pay enough credits to buy a small ship. Had chosen because she was easy. She worked late shifts. She walked through empty corridors. She had no weapons, no guards, no friends with power. Just a cargo hauler boyfriend who looked like he would run at the first sign of trouble. Called 3 of his soldiers to his room. Their names were and Tarn. They were big, mean, and stupid, which was exactly what needed. The human female said, pointing at the screen, "She finishes work in 2 hours. Grab her, bring her to the ship. Do not kill her. Do not damage her too much. The client wants her alive." Grinned, showing his glass teeth. "What about the male, the one she lives with? If he causes trouble, kill him, but I doubt he will. Humans are cowards, they run from everything." The 3 soldiers laughed and left the room, poured himself another drink. Easy money, he thought, the easiest money he had ever made. He was wrong. Was tired. It had been a long day. A worker had come in with a crushed hand, crying and screaming. A child had a fever that would not break. An old human man had just wanted someone to talk to, had helped them all, smiling through her exhaustion, pretending she was not falling apart inside. She thought about Ho as she cleaned up the medical bay. He was probably on his way home now, walking through the corridors with that calm look on his face. She smiled. He was not exciting or romantic. He did not give her flowers or write her poems. But he was steady, reliable, always there when she needed him. He made her feel safe. She finished her work and walked out into the corridor. The lights were dim here, flickering slightly. The station was old and this section had been neglected for years. Most people avoided it but used it as a shortcut. It saved her 10 minutes every night. She did not see the shadows moving behind her. The first hand grabbed her shoulder. She gasped and spun around. A soldier stood there, towering over her, his yellow eyes glowing in the darkness. 2 more appeared from the shadows, blocking her path. "Human female," the first one said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "You come with us, no screaming." His heart was pounding. She took a step back. "What do you want? I have not done anything wrong." The second soldier, the one called, laughed. "You are worth money. That is enough." Turned to run. She made it 3 steps before Tarn grabbed her hair and yanked her backward. Pain exploded through her scalp. She screamed. Hit her, his fist was like a hammer crashing into the side of her face. The world spun. She tasted blood. She fell against the metal wall, sliding down, too dizzy to stand. "I said no screaming," growled. He grabbed her arm and started dragging her toward the service lift. "Stupid creature. Learn to obey." Tried to fight. She kicked and scratched and bit, but she was small and weak and human. They did not even notice her struggles. They laughed at her, mocked her, told her to save her energy for the experiments. Through her tears and blood, saw something at the end of the corridor. A figure standing in the dim light, dark hair, calm eyes, familiar. "Ho," she whispered. Looked up and saw the human male. He was not big. He was not armed. He was just standing there, staring at them with an expression that could not read. Another one said, "We only need the female. Tarn, kill him quickly. Make it clean." Tarn grinned and started walking toward Ho. He was 3 times the human size. He had 4 arms and claws that could tear through metal. This would be easy. Ho did not run. He did not beg. He did not even speak. He just looked at, saw the blood on her face, and something inside him changed. His eyes went empty. His body went still. And somewhere deep in his chest, a door opened that should have stayed closed forever. The monster came out. Tarn walked toward the human with the confidence of a predator approaching prey. He had killed many creatures in his life. Big ones, small ones, fast ones, slow ones. They all died the same way, screaming and begging for mercy. This human would be no different. "Stay still, little thing," Tarn said, spreading his 4 arms wide. "I will make it quick. You will not feel much." Ho did not answer. He did not move. He just stood there watching Tarn come closer, his eyes completely empty of emotion. No fear, no anger, nothing at all. Tarn found this strange but did not think about it. Humans were known to freeze when scared. Their tiny brains could not handle real danger. This one had simply given up. He swung his right fist at the human's head. It was a killing blow, fast and powerful, enough to crush bone and end life instantly. Ho moved. His hand came up and caught Tarn's fist in midair. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Ho squeezed. The sound was terrible. Bones cracked and popped like dry wood breaking. Tarn's yellow eyes went wide with shock and pain. He tried to pull back, but the human's grip was like iron, impossible, unbreakable. Ho squeezed harder. The bones inside Tarn's hand turned to powder. The scales split open. Blood poured out between the human's fingers. Tarn screamed. It was a high, terrible sound that echoed through the corridor. He had never felt pain like this. He had never imagined pain like this. "What are you?" he gasped. "What are you?" Ho did not answer. He twisted his body and pulled. Tarn flew through the air like a toy and crashed into the metal wall. The impact dented the wall. The impact should have killed him, but Tarn was tough and strong. He tried to get up. Ho was already there. His elbow smashed into Tarn's throat with the force of a hammer. Cartilage crunched. Air stopped flowing. Tarn collapsed, choking on his own crushed windpipe, clawing at his neck with his 3 remaining good hands. The whole fight had taken 4 seconds. And stared in disbelief. They had seen battles. They had seen violence, but they had never seen anything like this. The human had moved so fast, so brutally, so efficiently. There was no wasted motion, no hesitation, just pure, perfect destruction. "Kill him," shouted, throwing to the ground. "Both of us together now." Pulled out an energy blade. It hummed to life, glowing blue-white, hot enough to cut through steel. He charged at Ho, slashing at the human's chest. The blade cut deep. It sliced through Ho's shirt and opened a wound across his ribs. Blood sprayed out, dark and red. Ho did not stop. He did not even slow down. His head snapped forward and crashed into his face. The scales cracked like old pottery. His nose, flat and wide, broke into pieces. Blood exploded everywhere. Stumbled backward, blinded by pain, swinging the energy blade wildly. Ho grabbed his wrist. With one brutal motion, he bent the arm backward until the elbow joint snapped. The energy blade fell from his fingers. Ho caught it before it hit the ground. He drove the blade into his stomach. The screamed as the energy burned through his scales, his flesh, his organs. Smoke rose from the wound. The smell of cooking meat filled the corridor. fell to his knees, then to his face, and did not move again. Watched his two soldiers die in less than 20 seconds. His mind could not process what he was seeing. This was impossible. Humans were weak. Humans were prey. They ran from danger. They did not fight. They did not kill. But this human was not running. This human was walking toward him with blood dripping from his hands and nothing in his eyes but endless, empty darkness. "What are you?" whispered. His voice was shaking. His body was shaking. For the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be prey. Ho stopped in front of him. Blood ran down his chest from the energy blade wound. It should have hurt. It should have slowed him down. But his body was pumping chemicals that his species had developed over millions of years. Adrenaline flooded his system, blocking pain, enhancing strength, turning his tired body into a weapon of destruction. "You hurt her," Ho said. His voice was quiet, calm, almost gentle. "You made her bleed." Looked at the human female on the ground. She was watching them with wide, terrified eyes. Her lip was split. Her face was bruised. One side of her cheek was already swelling. "I was just following orders," said. The words came out fast, desperate. "Please, I can pay you. I can give you anything you want. Just let me go." Ho tilted his head slightly, like a predator considering its prey. Then he smiled. It was the most terrifying thing had ever seen. "Run," Ho said. Did not need to be told twice. He turned and ran, his four legs pumping, his arms swinging, every muscle in his body working to carry him away from the monster behind him. He made it 12 steps. Then something hit him from behind, and the world turned to pain. Hit the ground hard. The air rushed out of his lungs. Before he could breathe, before he could move, a weight landed on his back. Knees pressed into his spine. Hands grabbed his shoulders and pushed him flat against the cold metal floor. "Please," gasped. "Please, I beg you. I have a family. I have children. I was just doing my job." The human did not answer. Felt fingers moving along his back, searching, probing, finding the gap in his scales where the spine connected to the base of his skull. They had evolved thick armor everywhere except this one spot. They had never needed to protect it. No creature in the galaxy was strong enough to exploit this weakness. Until now. "I will tell you everything," said. His voice was high and broken. Tears ran down his scaled face. "Commander ordered us to take her. He has a client who wants to study humans. The ship is in docking bay 17, please. I will testify against him. I will do anything." For a moment the hand stopped moving, felt a tiny spark of hope. "You hit her," the human said. His voice was so quiet that could barely hear it. "I saw you. You hit her face. You made her fall. You made her cry." "I am sorry. I am so sorry. It was wrong. I know it was wrong." Yes, the human agreed. It was. The hands found their position. Fingers wrapped around the base of spine, fitting into the gap between the scales like they belonged there. Felt the pressure building, felt his vertebrae grinding against each other. "Wait," he screamed. "Wait, please, I." The human pulled. The sound was wet and terrible. Felt his body tear, felt things inside him rip and break, felt pain beyond anything he had ever imagined. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. His lungs were not working. Nothing was working. Everything below his neck had stopped. The human stood up. In his hands he held a section of spine, still attached to chunks of flesh and muscle and scale. Blood dripped from it, pooling on the floor. The human looked at it for a moment, then dropped it like garbage. Was still alive. There were tough creatures and their brains could survive for minutes without the body. He lay on the ground, unable to move, unable to feel, watching the human walk away from him with slow, heavy steps. Had not moved. She was still pressed against the wall, her hands covering her mouth, her eyes wide with horror and shock. She had seen the whole thing. She had seen her gentle, quiet boyfriend turn into something else, something ancient and brutal and absolutely terrifying. Ho stopped in front of her. The blood was drying on his hands. The wound on his chest was still bleeding, soaking his shirt red. His face was pale, his body swaying slightly. The adrenaline was starting to fade and the pain was starting to come. But his eyes were changing. The emptiness was draining away, replaced by something softer, something human. He whispered, his voice cracked, his hands were shaking. "Are you okay? Did they hurt you badly? I saw them hit you. I saw the blood. I could not. I could not." He could not finish the sentence. His legs gave out and he fell to his knees in front of her. The monster was gone. Only the man remained, exhausted and wounded and afraid. Lowered her hands, her lip was still bleeding, her face was still bruised, but she was alive. She was safe because of him. She looked at the three bodies in the corridor, one choking on his crushed throat, one burned by his own blade, one missing half his spine. They had been soldiers, killers, predators. Now they were nothing. She should have been scared of Ho. She should have run away, screamed for help, called him a monster. Any normal person would have. But was not normal. She was a human too, and deep in her heart, in the same place where Ho kept his monster, she understood. He had not wanted to do this. He had not enjoyed it. But when she was in danger, when her life was threatened, there was no line he would not cross, no limit he would not break, no enemy he would not destroy. That was what humans were. That was what they had always been, gentle and kind and loving until someone they cared about was hurt. Then they became something else entirely. Crawled forward and wrapped her arms around him. He was cold and shaking and covered in blood, but she held him anyway. She held him tight and whispered soft words into his ear. "I am okay," she said. "You saved me. I am okay. We are okay." Ho buried his face in her shoulder and cried. The tears came hard and fast, mixing with the blood and sweat, washing away some of the horror of what he had done. He was not proud of himself. He was not happy. He was just a man who loved a woman and who had done terrible things to keep her safe. In the corridor behind them finally stopped breathing. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, an alarm began to sound. But Ho did not move. They just held each other in the darkness, two humans alone in a galaxy that did not understand them. Not yet. But soon everyone would understand. The station security team arrived 11 minutes after the alarm started. There were 6 of them, all different species, all armed with heavy weapons. They expected to find a massacre. They expected to find victims crying for help. They did not expect to find a human male sitting against the wall, holding a human female in his arms, surrounded by 3 dead soldiers. Officer was a bird-like creature with sharp eyes and a suspicious mind. He looked at the scene and could not understand it. There were warriors. The human was a cargo hauler. This should have been impossible. "What happened here?" he demanded. Ho looked up. His face was pale and tired. Blood had dried on his hands and chest. "They tried to kidnap her," he said simply. "I stopped them." Looked at the bodies. One had a crushed throat. One had been stabbed with his own energy blade. One was missing most of his spine. The violence was extreme, brutal, almost artistic in its efficiency. "You did this?" asked, alone, unarmed. "Yes." Did not believe him. He could not believe him. But the security cameras had recorded everything. The footage would prove the truth, no matter how impossible it seemed. The investigation lasted 3 days. The footage spread across the station's network within hours and across the galactic network within a day. Everyone watched it. Military commanders, scientists, politicians, ordinary citizens. They watched a single human male destroy 3 soldiers in less than 2 minutes. They watched him tear out a spine with his bare hands. The analysis teams worked overtime. They studied the footage frame by frame, measuring speed, calculating force, trying to understand how a creature with no claws, no scales, no natural weapons could do what Ho had done. The answers were terrifying. Humans, they discovered, had something called adrenaline. It was a chemical that their bodies produced in moments of extreme stress. It made them faster, stronger, and almost immune to pain. But that was not all. Humans also had something called muscle recruitment. Most species could only use a fraction of their muscle strength at any time to protect their bones and joints from damage. Humans could remove this limit temporarily, unleashing power that their bodies were never meant to use. And then there was endurance. Humans came from a death world where they had hunted prey by chasing it until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their bodies were designed to keep going long after other species would have stopped. They could survive injuries that would kill most creatures. They could push through pain that would paralyze others. But the most frightening discovery was psychological. Humans had evolved as social creatures. They formed bonds, attachments, relationships that became more important than their own survival. When these bonds were threatened, when someone they loved was in danger, humans experienced a mental shift that overrode all other instincts. They called it protective rage. It was not anger. It was not hate. It was something deeper, older, more fundamental, a switch that turned peaceful humans into killing machines. Commander was arrested 2 days after the incident. He tried to run, but the station sealed all exits before he could reach his ship. He was found guilty of kidnapping, assault, and conspiracy. The sentence was 20 years in a prison colony. Ho was never charged. The station council ruled that he had acted in defense of himself and his partner. Some council members wanted to give him a medal. Others wanted to exile him, afraid of what he might do if he got angry again. In the end, they did neither. They just let him go back to his life, hoping that the quiet cargo hauler would stay quiet. Recovered quickly, the bruises faded, the split lip healed, but sometimes at night she woke up from nightmares about yellow eyes in the darkness. When that happened, Ho would hold her until she fell asleep again. He never complained. He never got tired. He just held her and whispered that she was safe, that he would always keep her safe. Their life went back to normal or something close to it. Ho went to work, went to the medical bay. They ate dinner together and watched old movies and pretended that nothing had changed. But something had changed, not between them but in the galaxy around them. The footage of Ho's fight spread everywhere. Species that had never heard of humans watched it and felt something new, something cold, something like fear. A message began to spread, whispered in trading posts and military bases and government halls across 1,000 worlds. It was not a threat. It was not a warning. It was just a simple observation, a piece of wisdom that every intelligent creature needed to know. Humans are peaceful. Humans are friendly. Humans will help you when you are hurt and trade with you fairly and treat you with respect. They are good creatures, kind creatures, the sort of creatures you want as neighbors and partners and friends. But do not make them angry. Do not threaten what they love. Do not touch their families, their friends, their mates. Because if you do, the peaceful human will disappear. Something else will take its place. Something old and dark and hungry. And that something will not stop until you are dead. Ho never talked about what he did in that corridor. He never bragged about it, never mentioned it, never brought it up. He just went back to being a quiet cargo hauler who loved a gentle medic and wanted nothing more than a simple, peaceful life. But sometimes, when aliens passed him in the corridors of Orbital Ring 7, they would look at his hands. They would remember the footage. They would remember the spine. And they would step aside, giving the quiet human all the space he needed. Because now the galaxy knew the truth. Never hurt what a human loves. The price is more than anyone can pay.